Hello. Welcome to this live Optimizing Your Job Search Using LinkedIn. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, wherever you are. I hope everyone is seeing this, but if you can, just drop me a comment so that I know that it's coming through because this is the first time I'm using StreamYard to stream to LinkedIn. So let me know that you're seeing this. So, welcome to this session. And while I wait for everyone to join, I'm going to slowly introduce myself. So, I've been stuck in my house for roughly 7 days now because we just returned from France. And in the UK, France is on the blacklist. So, we need 2 weeks before we can leave the house, which is a bit frustrating. But let me introduce myself to you. So, my name is Katherine Ann Byam. I'm the founder and CEO of Deeple Consulting, and I'm also a career and business coach. So, in those two businesses, I have one mission, and that mission is to transcend the very idea of work. So, we'll see how I'm doing on that. So, I know that a lot of people in my network are struggling right now. So, it doesn't matter what level you are, there's a lot of change and structural change that has happened because of COVID, and a number of people are struggling. So, the reason for this session is to share with you some clues, some tips, some ways that you can go about making LinkedIn work for you and making your profile and your brand become more visible. So drop it in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see me. I'd love to know because I'll just check and see on my phone as well if it is coming through. Okay, so I can see that it's come through on LinkedIn, so wonderful. Okay, so the topics that I have today are going to take us through a bit on how to optimize LinkedIn. But before we even get into the details of LinkedIn, we need to take a big step back. So I know over the last 6 months, I've gone through, oh, hi, Alex. I've gone through a number of changes myself in terms of how I approach things in the world, how I approach things in my business. Wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing. So, and I know that this has meant that I needed to think about how I go about running my business, making and earning profits in the future because of what's happened. And what I mean by that is that we can no longer survive with just a profit motive as our bottom line. We now need to think more about a triple bottom line when we approach things. And I know everyone's different, but I'm sure that we've all felt this need to be more sustainable, more socially conscious in the things that we do in our business. So tonight I'm going to go through a little bit about what you need to do with this time that you have if you are job searching. And what you need to do is really think about your ikigai. So this is a Japanese term which maybe some of you are familiar with, but it talks about purpose, profit, and passion. And the idea is to find the intersection between those things for you. So think about what problems you want to solve in the world. Okay, and it could be a big sustainability problem or challenge. It could be a small problem in your neighborhood. But think about the kind of problems you want to solve. If you're still in a job and you're still in a role and you're in a company that is not as progressive in solving those sort of shared challenges that we have as humanity, maybe you want to move jobs as well because you've thought about things that you now want to do and things that you want to advocate for. So I recommend that you find that sweet spot, that ikigai, before you even start your job search, okay? And the idea about doing that is that you start isolating the types of companies you want to look for, the types of jobs you want to do. It has to be related to the skills that you have, but make sure that you find that sweet intersection of things that you're able to do, things that give you passion, purpose, and it gives you some return as well. All right, so that's part one. And I have a few free guides and instructions that one of my friends will share with you in the link. And I will put that up on screen when we have it. So the next bit is about profile. So if we look at the LinkedIn profile, it's no longer a CV. So don't think about LinkedIn as your CV, as your digital CV. LinkedIn is the place where your brand shows up. It is your personal brand in essence. It is your personal professional brand. So you want to optimize that profile. And I like to call LinkedIn a high trust profile and a high trust network. And what I mean by that is that people generally love to connect with others who are professionals on LinkedIn if they know that that professional is solid. And the way that they know that is really simple. Just having your public profile, showing your picture, showing where you worked. So simple things like that generate trust on this platform. So you want to make a public profile that's viewable, that people can interrogate before they add you if you want to make a connection request. The next bit is about your picture. So a lot of people like to put skiing pictures where you can't actually see the face. You need to put your face. You need to bring your face there. There's so much that humans can tell from the interaction with a face. So you need to have your face there. You need to bring your best face forward. Okay. The next bit is about the banner behind your picture. And that banner is a blank blue space for some people. You can actually put content in there that's relevant to the type of job you're looking for, the type of question or challenge you want to solve, or the mission that you have in your life and your professional life. And this communicates a great deal about who you are as a person, and it generates interest for people you will connect with. So this is also an interesting idea that you can develop on. There is a free software called Canva that you can download banners or create your own banner. Okay, so beyond the banner, there's the About section, and maybe you don't know how to find this, but you can add certain elements to your profile. So you can add an About section, you can add a Features section. The About section is like your old-fashioned cover letter, but it's a little bit different because you're not writing it to one specific company. You're writing it to an idea or an ideal company that you have in mind. So you need to think about who's the recruiting manager, if it is the CEO or the COO or the CFO, and you need to think about what communication, what problems they want to solve, what are the things that interest them the most, and you put the things that you can solve in that space. So you talk about the problem, you talk about what frustrates them, you talk about what they desire, and then you talk about the transformation you can bring. So that's how you need to address your About section of your profile. The next section is the Features section. And in this section, you could introduce external links about yourself without ever having to post them to the platform. So it's a really nifty way to start sharing things like maybe some certificates that you have, or articles that are written about you, or articles that you have written, and these can be displayed on your features section when people browse your profile. Typically, you want to have two really important ones at the front end of that. You can have quite a few of them listed on your features section, but you want to have two that are really communicating some value to the person who's browsing your profile, because they're not likely to scroll. All right. So then we come to the skills. So this is why I tell you it's not a CV anymore. The skills is the last thing I'm talking about. And I like to think about your profile as basically your whole marketing kit, of which skills are just a section of your marketing kit. So you want to optimize those skills for keywords. So it's the same advice that you probably get about optimizing your CV. So you want to optimize those skills for keywords, but don't spend too much time on this section, because the game is different now. It's not necessarily about showing off the skills on the profile. It's about how you engage on that platform as well. All right, so that's the profile section. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask me them as we go through, because there's a lot of content to share, but it could be nice to have a few questions that I can pause and breathe as well. All right, so beyond the profile section, we get to making connections. Now, I don't know about you, but since I put business coach on my profile, I get hit up with so many spammy messages, so many spammy direct messages from people. And this is not good. This is not good for a high trust platform. So this is why I say to everyone, do not do direct messages. If you want to connect with someone, just connect. Just press connect. But make sure that you have a profile that's they're going to be interested in. So work on your profile and then press connect. Now, who are you connecting with? Obviously, you need to connect with people that know you and know your work, because they give credence to anything that you post on that platform. They give credence to the skills that you put up there. They give credence to the About page. So you need to have people that actually know you. But you also need to be strategic about your connections. And when I say strategic, I'm going back to the ikigai that we talked about at first. So for the ikigai, sorry, just checking to see if there's any issue. So for the ikigai, you really want to identify the companies that match that profile, and you want to tailor whatever messages that you're sending and the people that you're connecting with to match that sort of profile that you want. So if you want to be a CFO or a head of risk or some other type of function in your company or in a new company, you need to target the kind of companies that will give you the type of purpose that you want or the value that you want to add. You want to target as well people who are in a position to influence those decisions. So this could be peers. So you can contact in let's say you want to work for Lego, you contact peers who will be working at your level. You contact people who are within the teams that you might want to be in, or you can contact the recruiting manager, the hiring manager. But the idea here is to send strategic connection requests. So what you can also do when you're sending a connection request is to follow that person. So you may not, maybe they don't look at their LinkedIn all the time, maybe they don't acknowledge your request, but if you're following that person, you get to understand what that person is talking about, what they're interested in, and what they like. Okay, and this is quite useful. This is quite useful for going through the whole process of raising your profile to get the job that you want. Okay, so I am going to hide that. All right, so after the connection requests, we need to think about engagement. So once you've connected with someone, either through a follow or a connection request, you want to start doing strategic engagement. So like I said before, no direct messages. And why no direct messages? Because direct messages are quite personal. Okay, so it's a bit like someone sending you a WhatsApp. You generally tend to look at your WhatsApp very quickly because you think it's coming from family, you think it's coming from friends. You don't want to be sending direct messages to everyone because usually they just ignore it. Even if you have the best speech in the world, they'll just ignore it because they didn't invite you in. What you want to do instead about engagement is to follow the posts of those strategic people that you've connected with. So if you've clicked on follow, you're going to see their posts in your feed. You need to engage with those posts, the ones that interest you, right? So you need to do authentic connection here. And you need to genuinely share what your thoughts are, ask questions, invite them to comment, invite them to connect with you. And this opens a door. Okay, this opens a door, and you can do this. After you've sent a follow request, you can keep that engagement going, and maybe they will connect with you later on. Most likely they will. What I found is that with CEO in my profile, with consultant in my profile, there's been no issue with people connecting with me. Generally, if I send a connection request, it's received. Okay. So the other bit that I'd like to talk about, well, actually, before we go on to content, because content is a long section, do we have any questions at all? So I'm going to put up a couple of links, and I see that it's not showing up as well. So I'm going to put up a couple of links. Do you have any questions? So these links are ways that you can download some information to figure out how to address your profile. This is all free. All right, so while you're thinking about your questions, I will start to outline what you need to do about content. All right. So the content section. So I don't know how many of you have heard about Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary Vaynerchuk thinks that we should be connecting or generating content like 100 pieces a day and even more. Now that I think is a bit ridiculous, especially if you have a day job. If you don't have a day job, then you need to be at least engaging. So I think that's an engagement rule. You can engage with as many posts as possible. And engaging with posts wins you a lot of favor and a lot of traffic in the feed because LinkedIn likes engagement on their platform. Okay, so like any other, there's an algorithm that's running LinkedIn, and engagement drives that algorithm. So we have a question from Carlos. So any particular advice about joining groups? So I find groups on LinkedIn to be very restricted in their functionality. So what you find is that groups thrive on Facebook because Facebook prioritizes the post and the traffic from the groups in the feed. Whereas LinkedIn, you don't generally get that prioritization of the traffic. So I think they're working on it, and I think they're probably going to change it and maybe stay close to the space, because maybe in the new year you will find that groups are thriving again on LinkedIn. But right now they're very low profile. I think that they're a good place to be because they're usually specific to some topic. So if it's about the problem that you like to solve, then definitely it's a good idea to be in a group and a community of people who are solving those problems. But if those groups are having things like meetups within the group, then it's even better. So I'm in a couple of groups that run some meetups, and I think that's quite a powerful tool because then you're starting to talk to people within your industry, people who are tackling the same problems or who are facing the same challenges that you face. Okay, so I have another question here. How do you go from "I love your post" to "Are there any vacancies"? That's a great question, Gabrielle. So you don't. So actually, the whole strategy about LinkedIn is not like anything you've seen before. And when I go through content, you will understand what I mean. But you're really not asking for any jobs necessarily. So there are different ways to approach this. You can tap on people that you know, so people that you're really already familiar with. If they're working in the types of companies that you want to work with, you can tap on their shoulders and say, "Hey, I'm looking." And in reality, a lot of companies have, they have schemes where, if employees bring in new people, they get incentives and stuff. So sometimes people like that. So, and if it's people that you know, then the direct message is fine because it's not such an invasion of your privacy. But if it is for people that you don't know, then the strategy is completely different. So the strategy is about engagement and it's about content. And it's a bit of a long game, I agree, but it's still a game that's worth playing. And there are two sort of ways to manage the people that you don't know. So one way is to look to see if they are a second or third connection of somebody that you know. And then you could go through that window. So look at your first connection, contact your first connection, ask for an introduction to that second connection. And if it's a third connection, it's harder. But if they are a second connection, then possibly you can get into a conversation with them through that door. And that's a valid approach to take if you get an introduction. So then you get invited in. But if that's not the case, if you don't have shared second and third connections, then the strategy is a longer game. And the strategy is about engagement. So you really have to follow them and you really have to engage with their posts. If they're not posting a lot on LinkedIn, well, then you need to look for someone in their sphere of influence who is more active on the platform. Okay, so let's talk about content because now I think you're probably ready. Okay, so content on this platform has changed and evolved over time. I first started on this platform in 2016 when I was completing my MBA. And at that time, the platform favored articles. So I don't know if you remember like LinkedIn Pulse and stuff like this, where they would package a number of articles. Now that has kind of moved on. So you still have articles, but articles are coming in the form of subscriptions. So they have newsletters, and not everyone is allowed to have a newsletter. So you have to apply to LinkedIn to get this newsletter, and they're not actually taking applications at the moment, the last time I checked. So that's very different. But because as I mentioned before, the platform favors engagement, they want you to actually generate quick posts that people are likely to read. Okay, they favor a 1,300 character post over any form of long form article. You can still share a long form article. And in that long form article, you just have a post on top in the 1,300 characters that summarizes that article, that speaks about what that article gave to you. So I don't know how many of you saw this, but this morning something happened to me that's never happened before on this platform, which is that the editors selected one of my posts to be shown in the feed. So this was about the story of Amazon creating 7,000 jobs in the UK. And I made a really quick post this morning. I saw the news, I quickly wrote a post about it, and I hashtagged the hell out of that post. And that post got selected as a third post in the feed for the LinkedIn editor's pick of the day. Now, that's really cool because suddenly a lot of people will see the content that I write and the way that I think and the way that I feel about certain things. So I'm getting acknowledgement from my network. People are understanding what I value and what I'm about without me ever having to go and tell them, hey, this is what I'm about. Right? So this is the benefit of writing good quality content. And that's never happened to me before, but I'm hoping that it's going to happen to me more often now that I know that this can happen. So this is one of the strategies. You can take news, very, let's say, hot off the press news, because that's what I did this morning. I took really hot off the press news and I commented on it. I think another one that might have been interesting would have been the Neuralink announcement last week. I mean, I think that topic has completely taken off. If you haven't seen it, it's about Elon Musk and the new Neuralink software or technology that he's bringing out that's supposed to change everything about how we use our brains, and lots of interesting conversations that can ensue there. So being topical, so this is one of the things about posts and your content. Being really close to what's happening in the news is one way to generate a bit of buzz around the content that you're producing. But you have to give your opinion. So it's not about just sharing and regurgitating the news and summarizing the article per se. You must put your opinion. You could summarize the article, but you must add an opinion. All right, so that's the bit about articles and posts. I think if you want to still write articles, long form copy to show the depth of your knowledge, you still can, but you have to share that article as a post in order for it to generate buzz on the feed. Okay, so that's one of the strong tools that you can use. The other thing that seems to work really well on the platform is PDFs. So if you upload a document in big fonts, easy to read, easy to follow, with a bit of a story, people tend to like this. So those posts tend to get a lot of views. And I'm telling you stuff that I've trialed myself, okay? So I've gone through and I've looked at the feed and I've seen how many posts, how many likes or even views some of my posts get. And I have an idea of what the platform likes. So anytime I'm trying to sell anything on the platform generally doesn't like it. And that's because you don't like it. So people don't like to be sold to, right? But anytime I'm producing some content that's of insight and value and full of opinion, and written with a bit of sort of storybook approach, those posts go quite viral. I think one of my most viral posts was when I talked about the thing of LinkedIn click parties, right? So my Angry Woman posts had over 3,000 views in a few weeks. In fact, it's still going around. I'm still getting likes for that post, which is crazy because I didn't intend that at all. So the point that I'm making here is to be genuine, to be authentic, and to share what your real thoughts are. So I think, like I said at the beginning, this is a high trust platform. And the more that you do to build trust, which is in your authentic self, in your integrity and in your authentic self, the better you'll do on this platform. Okay, so that's PDFs as well. So PDFs need to be, I put down here that PDF should be knowledge driven. So you should be sharing some real knowledge, but not too detailed and small fonts, because people just ignore that. They can't read it quickly. But really, big fonts with a few images and something that tells a story. Or it should be entertaining, right? So if it's funny, people will look at it, even on LinkedIn. And if it's knowledge driven, people will also look at it, or they may even be interested in downloading it, right? So you decide what you want to put forward there. And I guess what this is hinting at is that when you do your ikigai work, you need to start talking about that stuff, right? So you need to start talking about what's important to you. You need to start really working the side of your personality, the side of relevance, recognize where the world is right now and what people want to read about, and that will bring you a lot of benefit. Okay. The other thing is videos. So videos are usually skimmed over if you don't have captioning. because people sometimes look at their LinkedIn when they're in the office. Well, nobody's in the office. Hardly anyone is in the office now. But they look at it when they're doing other things, and they don't necessarily want to play the video, but they will stay on that video if you have captions. So the way to do video with captions is to record your video, probably upload it in YouTube, and YouTube does an automatic captioning for you, and then you can post that into LinkedIn. And there's other software that does this as well. I haven't investigated them all because I haven't done videos with caption yet, and I actually got the opportunity. The platform has given me the opportunity to go live, so I've decided that I'm probably not going to post videos. I'm probably just going to go live. So on this topic of lives, and we touch on that as we're talking about videos. So this is another thing that you need to apply to do, and it takes a while for them to come back to you and decide if they're going to allow you to do it. So the platform really tries to manage the quality of its content. And this is why they withhold newsletters. So they don't want everyone writing newsletters. They have a few prolific writers and bloggers doing the newsletters. They've allowed me to go live. I don't know why, but I'm totally soaking it up. It's great. And you can also apply, and this is really key for those of you in senior positions who have a world of experience, which is quite a few of you on this call. You can also apply to LinkedIn to be a teacher. So in all the LinkedIn trainings that are online, you can apply to become a teacher on something that you are the expert at. So, I know some of you, I won't call names, but I know some of you that are listening to me tonight, heads of risk management. You've written books on risk management even. So this is an opportunity to get more visible by producing valuable content for this platform. Now, I don't know the details of any remuneration that you get. I'm not sure that you do get remuneration, but we can find this out. But even if it's not remunerated, this is an opportunity to showcase yourself in a very powerful way. So many people go and use and make use of these free trainings, or these trainings that you get once you buy the first level of premium, and that's quite beneficial to your image, your public image. Finally, the bit is on pictures and stories with pictures. So generally speaking, before April, I'd say this platform didn't really encourage the sort of warm outside of work sort of photos. But now I think there's a lot more equity in what you see across the platform in terms of photos. I personally still probably won't share something about going on holiday, but I will share some kind of photo of me outdoors, of me looking at the ocean or something like this. But the important part is not the photo, it's the story, right? So if you're genuinely connecting with people with your stories, it will go viral. That's what I can tell you. Every post that I've done that's been something that's gutted me. So something about a story about my business and how I struggled at the beginning to build this business, to now, my sort of rags to riches story, as they say, right? People love a good story, right? It's why we have Netflix and we have Amazon and we have Disney. People love a good story. So if you can come up with a good story in 1,300 characters, this platform will love you. Okay, so do we have any questions about content? Okay, so there are lots of different ways to do the content. I keep debating this thing about emojis. So I tried a few emojis today. I didn't feel like I like emojis at all, so I don't think I'll stick with that. But I think in some platforms, emojis work really well, and they help you to sift through the information quicker. So that's a great way as well. So I see some messages, but I'm not actually seeing them coming up on the feed. So I don't know how to do that. So I will have a look. So any other questions on content? And Gabrielle, I don't know if I've answered your question. So let me know if you have another question linked to that, about going from I love your post to any vacancies. A topic about vacancies, actually. So let me touch on this. So if you're a senior level job seeker, most likely the jobs you're looking for aren't advertised on any sort of platform at all. Okay, so you need a bit more than just using LinkedIn. Well, you need to use LinkedIn to talk to the right people, but you also need to think about how you incorporate headhunters into your strategy. So I think that's quite important if you're a senior level job seeker, or you're looking for opportunities. Headhunters. Headhunters are a complicated beast because you you need to get referred to them sometimes, and this is why the networking and engagement on this platform is really powerful as well, because sometimes it's your peers who get offered an opportunity, they don't want it, but then they think about you and they say, well, hey recruiter, why don't you call this person? And that's the way this kind of works. I found it's kind of strange, right? I don't know if you share this view as well, but because of COVID and the fact that everybody's digital now and everybody's online and it's become so crowded, your personal relationships matter even more, right? And maybe we're not doing the work to maintain them, but the personal relationships matter even more because there's so much noise and there's so many people wanting to be seen, to be visible, to be heard. So you really want to do proper engagement on this platform. You want to build out a content plan that makes sense, and you want to start generating traction, especially if you have the time because you're job hunting without a current job or on furlough or made redundant. If you're not in that situation and you're doing this while on the job, then it gets a little bit more complicated. But then you need to rely on your direct messaging through the known network that you have a bit more. But you can still engage on posts, right? You might not have the time to generate all the content, but still try to post some sort of content. I would say at least 4 times a week, right? So, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You find an interesting post in your feed, an interesting news article in your feed, you write your opinion on it, and you share that. Okay, so it doesn't have to be content complicated. The recommendation is that you do sort of potentially 4 pieces of content every day. I think it's too much, but if you think about content as engagement as well, then I think you could go up to 20 engagements a day. It all depends on your capacity to do that. If you want to generate original content, I would say, at least try to do it 3 to 4 times a week. Generate some sort of original content, which could genuinely be a 1,300 character post. Okay. So, do I have any other questions? So, I'm looking through StreamYard. I hope I'm catching everyone's questions. So there's lots of ways you can go further on this topic. I mean, I can't adjust to your specific situation, especially if you don't ask me questions. You can email me at hello@deeple.com, or you can check out my website. I also have a group on Facebook where I support people. I also have links and freebies on my website, so my friend Amy can share these with you as well. Um, and if there are no other questions, well, feel free to direct message me as well, because I like that on this platform. And if there are no other questions, then I wish you all a very good night. Okay, so talk to you soon. Bye.